Yeah, I want to point out this is the carburetor off of McCulloch Pro Mac 610, and it's the HDB Walbro series. You can also have a Tillerson, Zama Carb. This one's probably more common. If you have a McCulloch Pro Mac 610, a 650, it's a Walbro HDC versus an HDB. Now I decided to get a kit that was like an OEM kit. See that? I got it from this guy here, Randy's Engine Repair on eBay, because he's got every damn thing, and that's, you know, I'm kind of like, sometimes I'm getting these Chinese kits and I'm seeing they got some parts that fit and some don't, you know, and so I wind up reusing a gasket. Now on this thing, this is where let me put it this way. Right here is where this screen goes, and there was no screen in here, so that was like a minor problem actually. But I noticed there was another problem with this carburetor. I got this used off of eBay, but you see these these are the mixture screws for the high side and the low side. You know, they're both identical. I mean, I'm just kind of showing them. They're both exactly the same length. They're both identical. One of them on its replacement carb, the point was missing. And I was like, and I realized that was why they were selling it for parts of repair, non-working. It screws in, well, it's screwing right there. You can see there's the H and the L, and the L right there. So you got your high side and your low side. That's where it screws in. You can see the HDB right next to right next to the idle mixture screw thing right here. That's this thing here sticking out. This is a Walbro, right? That's the model HDB. It's an old one, right? They screw. You'll see the needle go into here, and this is the low side, right? This side right here, and there's a little hole from this rectangular thing into here. You might want to make sure that's clear, because you know what I did when I cleaned this carb, I cleaned it several times in an ultrasonic cleaner with the thing on heat. Plus, I was using awesome detergent from the dollar store, which works better than Simply Green. So it did get real clear, but I wanted to make sure, you know, the little hole from this little, like when you screw that you know, mixture screw in there, it blocks off a little hole going into here. That's the low side, and there's a bigger hole. This is the high side, and there's a little bit of a bigger hole. You can't really see it on the camera, but it goes from this rectangular area underneath that to where this hole is right here. Now this brass thing here is the capillary action check valve. Now this is something you might want to put some starting fluid on, let it really soak in there. Like, you don't want to use starting fluid with any of these rubber components, but there's no rubber components in here anymore. I took them all out. Let it soak in there. And you don't want to use any compressed air on this. That's where I made a mistake one time. I used compressed air, and I blew it out. And actually, they give you this little clip here to remove that, which I ain't removing it because it's too damn tiny, but I know it's real clean. That's a capillary action check valve. If you put a hose on there and you blew through it with air, well, that's one way to check it. You can put a little vacuum hose on here and blow through with air with your mouth, not compressed air, and suck on it, and you know, make sure it's clear, because these check valves are one of the main. They don't come with the carb rebuild kits, and if there's any junk mixed in there, that affects your starting system and your it affects your starting system, your low speed system, and your high speed system, but particularly your starting system and your high side system more than even a low. So You know, the check valve, if it's got gummed up fuel in there, it can be hard to start, and you know, maybe you'll put a little gas in it to get it going, and it might idle okay, but the high side might not work that good, no matter how you adjust the high side mixture screw, and it may not start very well. That could very well be the check valve. And these are just a capillary action. That's actually a screen, and there's a little disc underneath it. I ain't messing with it because it's so damn dinky that I don't want to pull it out. And I like I said, I cleaned this several times in the Ultrasonic Cleaner. Then I soaked it down with starting fluid, which is even more of a powerful cleaner than a carb cleaner. So, and I put a hose on there, and I could breathe. I can blow some air through it by my mouth and suck air through it. So I know that capillary action of the check valve is good. The main reason they probably were dumping this Eat Carb on eBay was one of these, and I had an extra one of these from another carb. One of these points was busted off. So that's something you want to watch for if you're rebuilding these carbs. If somebody busted off, they're both identical. These both, the high side and the low side on this particular carb are the same. But if one of those points is busted off, well, you're going to have to replace that mixture screw thing, okay? Okay, so I installed the little screen in here. You could push it in with a bolt, or it just, I don't know, it's just pushed in there gently. So that's a screen that goes over to filter out any kind of debris that can get into passageways. I installed, here's the high side, and that's the low side. You gently bottom them out. Whoever bottomed them out, I guess, on whatever this carb was, they must have bottomed them out too hard and broke the tip off or some garbage or whatever they did. Then you back them off 1.5 turns. I think the book spec is 1 1/8, but 1.5 to 2 turns might get you in a ballpark better than 1 1/8. Now, here's your little, I guess, what do you call those, reed valves? And here's your fuel pump. This is your pump mechanism right here that goes in here, and this goes first, then this goes, the gasket goes next. You can see this is probably, it looks like it's mesh where it's see-through. It's not, it's just reinforced, but it is a genuine kit. Okay, you could see the old one. It's kind of like, I mean, I guess the old one would still work, you know, but it's a little, you know, it's, you could tell the rubber got stretched out. And you see this little tab right here, this little thing here, you'll make sure to match up, right? These do match up. This goes on first, and that little tab right there goes in right there. So you put that on like that, and this goes over that, your gasket goes over that, and then this little booger goes over that. Okay, and you have a couple of you know, you see these little things sticking out. It can only goes one way. See that little, they fit right in these holes right here. It only goes in there one way. And you can see from the way it looks on this side, that's your fuel pump area, and there's your little flappers for the reed valves. They go, it only goes one way. See that? Oops, son of a bitch. I don't like doing these carbs too much because they're small, but you know. Well, this I wouldn't. That's why I didn't want to take out the check valve. You see, and then it's got one big old screw in there. Goes in here. You just tighten that down. Make sure it's all lined up before you tighten it down. Now you got just the old gasket. Here's the new gasket. You can see they're identical. And they give you another gasket in here. See this one? That might be for the HDC carburetor. Maybe. I don't know. But that's not the one I'm using, because that's not the one that was in here. Got this one. And this, you notice this. See the check valve right here? It goes like that. That's where that slot goes. Because you can, I don't know if you can flip it around the other way. No, it wouldn't. You couldn't really flip it around the other way because the screw holes wouldn't line up. But that's it. That goes in there like that. And then we're going to put our needle valve in there, which is our new needle valve right here. Okay. And we got a spring in here someplace. This guy. I like to do is I like to take the spring and put a dab of super glue on the very bottom of the spring, so I know it stands up nice and straight, because you want that spring sitting in there, in here, like not on the whole spring, just on the very bottom of it where it touches down in here. I mean, that's nitpicky, but you know, once you super glue it in there, it's when you take it apart, the spring won't come out, and it's got to sit right under that little tab. There's like a little indentation on that tab. It's got to sit right underneath there. That's just about as small as I want to mess around with parts. That's why I don't want to take out the check valve, but since it's a capillary action, it's just a screen, it's clean. And I know what the problem with this carb was. It was that little, because the thing did run, I just couldn't adjust it. I was like, wondering why. It was the idle mixture screw point on the end was messed up. Okay, so on this carb, you see it over here. You see the spring, how it's underneath that little indentation. It's not, it fits in a little socket, basically. Besides the socket, but it also fits in a little indentation on the arm. Then it fits in here, just under the needle valve. So you should have freedom of movement. Needle valve should go up, which it does. And this lever is even with the body. In other words, when you're looking down, there's my cats over there, boots. You look, if you put a straight edge across here, across the top, this is even. That lever is even with that, and you can make sure everything works fine here. So the I think it's a WMA or WMA carburetors. This lever sits a little bit lower than that, and you use a gauge, but you don't need a gauge with this because it's even right across. And there's my cat over here. Boochie, what are you doing, buddy? He's got his food. I got a couple more videos on this carb, probably a few more, so if this doesn't come out that clear, I think it is. This side, now you're going to put the diaphragm on here. This gasket goes on here. I'm sure you got the right one. It's got a little thing in here to line it up. Here's your diaphragm. That little point should be right on top of that, and this faces down like that. Okay. The rubber parts, so you don't want to spray any carb cleaner on them or nothing. You can do WD-40. And this goes on like that, and then you got your 4 screws that go in here. Now I like to put a real thin coat of super glue gel with the carburetor gasket. This is the base, in other words, just the bottom of the carburetor that's going to go face down on there. Because if this gasket gets a little bit cockeyed, it could, I mean a little bit, there's a little bit of room for play. it could partially cover this hole up, and those impulses from the engine is what operates the fuel pump, you know, to pump the fuel in there. So I just like doing that. I mean, it's probably not necessary, but it's just like a real thin coat to hold it in place. Somebody's gonna say that's stupid, but whatever. I did it on the other carburetor, and it's been on there forever, man. So every time I pull it out or something to clean it, the gasket just comes off. I don't put nothing on this side, and that's it. So this thing should run good now. It was running okay, but that screw, one of them screws was messed up. The tip was busted off. So watch for stuff like that. And also, I'm using some really strong reading glasses with this thing, and I'll tell you what, that helps. And also, sometimes you want this little tweezer thing that's on my Swiss Army knife, little tiny mini version of it. So that's a wrap. And if this video is not that clear, let me just say this. I think it's clear as anything. This carb just mounts here. You got this gets hooked on here, right? That's your, and this goes right between the carb and this plate, like that. That's your choke mechanism right here. See, you pull that in, and this is held in place. That flips the choke right over it. So it's actually a pretty simple saw, man. I've been freaking screwing around with these. I got two the same, so I know one of them, I know the other. That's the whole thing. Not the best saw in the world, but it's a pretty good saw. So anyway, and by the way, you can clean these filters in this ultrasonic cleaner along with the spark plugs. You might want to do the spark plug second, air filter first. But boy, does that get the spark, this thing gets the spark plugs really clean too. And I got a lot of, I've been keeping spare parts around for this saw because this guy here, I know he ain't the only guy around that's got shit for this, but he seems to have everything I need for this saw. If I need to get a clutch, if I need to get, I don't know, even a piston, he's got that stuff. So, you know, it's an old saw. It's freaking 1980. So what is that, 20, 30, 37 years? Is that what the hell that is? No, it's going to go for another 37 years as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, and I know I can make a separate clickbait video on this, but you see these little gas filters, and I got like a 50-foot line and all that type of stuff besides this bullshit little line here. You see, this is an old one, the ones that sit in the bottom of the tank. I was able to clean this really good. You can use starting fluid, but I also used the ultrasonic cleaner, and it cleaned it up really good. And I kept this because maybe your filter's going to get clogged, maybe it's not physically broken, and you know, you just can't wait for a part, and you got a bunch of fuel line on hand or whatever. Maybe you just need to clean the filter. You can clean it with starting fluid or your ultrasonic cleaner. The ultrasonic cleaner really cleans the crap out of everything. The only thing I like about it too is if you clean it with the ultrasonic cleaner and you decide to put your mouth on here and blow it out with air, it's just got some soap on it versus gasoline or starting fluid, right? So you can reuse a lot of these parts. That's what's cool about that. So I keep them around, man, because I think my chainsaw is going to be my lifeblood here if I'm up in Tennessee. It's going to be heating, building materials, you name it, you know. I'm going to need this sucker, man. So I got two just like that.